This is actually one of my favorite videos that I'm going to make because I'm going to be playing my very favorite game, backgammon. This is the ultimate tutorial on how to play backgammon. I'm going to make several videos starting with absolute beginners. If you don't know how to play the game but always wanted to know, this video is for you. And I'm going to keep going, making videos that get a little more harder and strategy oriented. And in my final videos, my goal is to make you an expert. Listen, I love backgammon. I've been playing it for almost 50 years. I am that old, and I used to teach it. I used to make money with it. It's a game that's so easy to learn, and then the more you play it, the more you realize there's other layers to it. If you've watched my other videos on how to play cribbage, how to play canasta, how to solve Rubik's Cubes, you know that I over-explain videos, and I promise if you just stick with me at the end of this video, you are going to know how to play. At the end of this series of videos, you are going to be an expert. Just give me your time and stick with me here. So in this video, I'm just going to give you the basic mechanics of what backgammon is, and then I'm going to walk through a very simple basic game. Well, there's two players. There's me, I'm white, and then there's the opponent sitting across from me. Their pieces are black. And what you're looking at is a typical backgammon board where there's 4 quadrants, 1, 2, 3, 4, and each quadrant has 6 what they call pips, which are these little triangular shapes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, each player has dice, 2 dice. Each person has 15 of these chips, and their goal is to get them around the board into their home quadrant and then get them off the board. The first person to get them off the board wins that game. You can play multiple games. All of this, by the way, I'm going to explain in much greater detail. It's very straightforward. There are 2. There is 5 here. There is 3 down here. And then there is 5 here. Now, let's talk about the direction of how you're playing. As a player with the white chips, you always look for where the 2 are, and you are trying to play in a circular motion to get your pieces into your home quadrant. So in this case, I'm looking to take these 2 pieces, work them around the board this way, down. Also, all these pieces here are coming down into this quadrant, ultimately to get them into my home quadrant, which is this one here. And when all 15 of my white pieces are in this quadrant, I can then begin to take them off. At the same time, my opponent is doing exactly the opposite. He is starting with his pieces here, working his way around this way into this one, bringing all his pieces down and across into his home quadrant, which is here. And once his 15 pieces are in this home quadrant, he is then going to begin to take them off. Again, the first person to take off all your pieces is the winner. Let's talk about the dice. The dice is basically your typical 2 dice situation with a couple of important things. Number 1 is doubles. If you got a 3 and a 3, instead of moving 1 man 3 and another man 3, you actually get to move 4 men 3. The other thing that you need to know is that when you roll a dice, you don't look at it as the sum total. Unlike craps, when you roll, say, this 6 and 2, and they call it an 8, in backgammon, it really is a 6 and a 2, because you can move 1 man 2 and another man 6, or you could move 1 man 8. But even if you were to move 1 man 8, you are still really moving that man 2 and then that man 6. You always need to look at it in terms of 1 dice, 1 move. And as I play this game in the sample round we're going to play, you'll see what I mean about that.
So let's just quickly talk about how a piece moves. It's very straightforward. You roll a 4, you move a piece 4, but you cannot land on a spot where your opponent has 2 or more other pieces. So for example, if you roll a 4, you want to move a piece 4, but your opponent has 2 pieces there, you can't land there. Even if you want to then maybe use the second dice and keep going, it doesn't work because you need to actually land cleanly for every individual die. However, if your opponent only has 1, then you are allowed to land on that spot, and you actually take your opponent off and you put them on the bar. What it means is your opponent is off the board on that piece, and they actually can't move any other piece until they get that one piece back on the board. And they have to put that piece back on the board all the way back at the beginning in the farthest quadrant and have to work their way around. So taking a piece off the board is a huge way to gain an advantage in this game because you're slowing your opponent down. That said, leaving a piece open yourself is a huge disadvantage in this game because if your opponent takes you off, you need to go back to the beginning. So much of the strategy of backgammon, which we'll get to in later videos, is about leaving a man open and taking pieces off. When to take that risk, when not to take that risk, how best to do it. So the final thing will be when all pieces are inside your home base, you'll begin taking them off. If you roll a 1, you'll take a piece off the 1. If you roll a 5, you'll take a piece off the 5. There's an entire video I have just on the strategy of taking men off the board.
So now let's get going on this game. In the case of the simplicity of this game, I'm just going to start by rolling my own dice. And as you can see, I pre-rolled a 4 and 1. So let's talk about the way I could move a 4 and a 1 in this game. It means I can move a piece 4 and I can move a piece 1. So let's start up here in this right corner and talk about that. So I could move one of these pieces, 1, 2, 3, 4, but I can't move it also 1 because then it would land here and you can't put a piece on the opponents if they have more than one piece. So I could move 1, 4 and I can move 1, 1. Another option would be to come here and I can move one piece 4. However, I cannot move one piece 1 because again, it would put it there on those blacks. But I could move it 4 and then I could move it an additional 1. Over here, I could move one of these pieces 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I could also continue to move it 1, or I could move a second piece 1. Over here, the same thing. I can move one piece 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, but I cannot move it then 1 because that would put it on top of that with 2. But I could go 4 and I could go 1. So for the sake of just simplicity and not even getting into strategy, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move one piece 4, and then I'm going to move it one more time 1. Why am I moving this? I'm going to get into strategy later. It's Black's turn. He rolls double 4s, which means he can roll 4 twice. So he moved 1, 4, and he moved another 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. But because it's doubles, he gets 2 more 4s. He could have moved these two down, 1, 2, 3, 4. He could have maybe continued to move these two 4, another 4 each, but he chose to move his piece here to 4 and 4. It's my turn now. I've rolled and I have a 3 and a 4. So let's talk about what my options are. In the upper right corner, I can't move this piece 3, 1, 2, 3, because there's 2 men here. However, I could move him 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And truthfully, I then could continue and move it another 3, 1, 2, 3, and I could take that man off. Let's look at what else I could do. I have pieces here on the upper left. I could move one of these 3, and I could move one of these 4, or I could move one of them 3 and then 4. Over here, I could move one of these pieces 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then another 3, 1, 2, 3, but I can't move this piece 3 first, 1, 2, 3. Because of the 2 black pieces there. And over here I have 2 pieces. I could put 1, 3, and I could move 1, 4. Now, for the interest of showing you what happens when you take a man off the board, that's what I'm going to do here. So I'm going to move him 4, and I still have a 3. I'm going to take the black. Notice the black is now on the bar. He is now needing to go all the way back to the beginning, and I'm going to explain how this works. And the beginning is all the way in my home quadrant here. So the way it works when you're off the board or on the bar and you need to come back on is you're going to roll the dice. And depending on what you roll, that's the number you're going to come on with. So he's going to roll. If he gets a 1, he can put it back on the board here. If he gets a 2, he can put it back on the board here. Same thing, 3, 4. If he gets a 5, he can put it on his own man there. But if he rolls a 6, he's not allowed to put it on the board with a 6 there. And the reason is because you can't put a man on a spot that already has 2 from your opponent. So if he was to say get double 6s, he wouldn't be able to get on the board. He would forfeit his turn because you're not allowed to move any other piece on the board until you get your men off the bar first. So he rolls and he gets a 5 and a 6. So he was able to only get on with the 5, and then he was able to take a 6. He could have moved that piece that he got on with the 5, 6, and it would have gone to there. Now, could he have moved one of these two 6? No, because if you look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, he's off. There's no more space. He would be off the board. I've rolled, and I've rolled double 4s. Now that means I get to move 4 times. Let's talk about what my options are. I have a man here by himself. I could move him 1, 2, 3, 4. I could then even continue to move him 1, 2, 3, 4. But can I move him the third 1, 2, 3, 4? No, 1, 2, 3, 4. I can't because it would put him there. So this man could move twice. What about this one here? He could go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then he would be with his buddies up there in the upper left. That's a good move because from a strategy point of view, you really don't want to keep many open men laying around. Other alternatives could be moving some of these men, 1, 2, 3, 4, down to the spot 1, 2, 3, 4 to here, or I could move some of these men, 1, 2, 3, 4 to here, and I could move some of these men, 1, 2, 3, 4 to here. All good options. And since I can move 4 times, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this one once, and I have 3 more 4s to go. I think I'll move this one, and then I have 2 more 4s to go. Maybe I'll move one of these 4s down, and now notice I cannot move another 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. It would go there, which I can't do. So I'll, for my 4th move, bring that down. That was my 4 4s, and now it's my opponent's turn. My opponent took me off the board and moved a 2 and a 3. As you can see, he's moved one of them 2 and one of them 3. And now I'm on the board. I could not get back on unless I put my barred man back on the board. So I've rolled a 1 and a 3. So I either get back on the board by putting my man on a 1 or by putting it on the 3. It's a good thing I didn't get a 4 or a 6 because I would not be able to put a man on the board here because there's 2 of my opponent's men on this 4 and on this 6. However, my opponent has left that 3 open with only one man, and technically I can come back on the board and it would take him off and put him on the bar. Thus, he would be forced to go back to the beginning for him. So I'm going to go ahead and put my man there, and that's a 3. And now I still have to move a 1. Well, there isn't many 1s that I can take. Let's take a look. I can't move this 1 because I would put me here and I can't go there. I can't move this one because it would be there. I can't move this one because it would be there. So really one of these two has to move 1. So I'm just going to go ahead and move this one 1. Now my opponent's on the bar. He can get in with almost any number, but he can't get on with a 6. So let's see what he rolls. And he got a 5 and a 2. So he moved a 5 to get on the board, and then he moved the extra 2. Now it's my turn. I've rolled a 6 and a 3. My options are, let's start with this one here. Can I move it 3? 1, 2, 3. No, I can't, but here's something interesting. I can move it 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I could move it 3. 1, 2, 3. So when you look at this piece, even though it can move 9 spots, it moves a 6 and a 3, but it's not moving a 3 and then a 6. You have to be able to move each individual dice one at a time. You can't just collectively take it. So had there been 2 men here and I could not have landed cleanly on the 3 or the 6, this piece would not have been able to move at all. So the other options are I could move one of these 3 and I could move one of these 6. That would take him off the board. I also could move one of these 6. Now, I can't move this one 6. We've already established that there isn't enough for it to move 6. So I'm going to go ahead and move this one 6. And then I'm going to go ahead and move it an additional 3. Why did I do that? Well, because I really wanted to make it safe. This piece is already not safe. Could I have played a more aggressive move and just taken him off the board? Sure, but we're going to get into strategies later on. My opponent rolls and gets a 6 and a 4 and takes me off the board. Unfortunately, I'm not able to get back on the board because in order to get back on the board, I need to land with a 1, 2, or 3 because the 4, 5, and 6 was unavailable. So I could do nothing. My opponent goes again and continues to move. Now it's my turn again, and I've rolled a 1 or a 2. So I can come on the board with a 1 or a 2. So this would be an interesting way to look at it. If I move on the board with a 1, I can take a 2 somewhere. If I come on the board with a 2, I can take a 1 somewhere. I could potentially come on the board with a 1 or a 2 and then just move it again for a total of 3 and put it here. But in the interest of learning this game, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to come on the board here with a 2, and then I'm going to take this man off with my 1. Are these the best strategies? Perhaps not. But hopefully you're watching and learning the mechanics of the game, and in the next video, you'll see it get a little more intense. So now I've rolled a 1 and a 4. Let's talk about the options here. With this man here, I can't move a 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. However, I can move a 1, and then if I was to do that, I could move a 4, and I could take my opponent off. With this, I cannot move a 1, and I can't move a 4. So these can't move at all. Even to move at 5 would require me to move it cleanly as a 4 and then as a 1. And since I can't cleanly move a 4 or a 1, these cannot move. Another option would be here. I could move a man 1, I could take it off, but I can't move a man 4 because of this. Although I could take the 1 off and then move 4, which would then put my man here. I could also move these 1 or 4, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off the opponent way up here. Move it 1 and then move it an additional 4. The more I keep sending him back to his home quadrant here, the more it slows him down. So now he rolls double 1s and he moves 4 1s. My turn, I've rolled a 6 and a 1. So I could continue to take this man off. For example, I could move this man 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then I could even roll 1 and have it be covered. 2 man on the same spot is strong. There's also lots my opponent is left open here for me to attack down here. And I think that's what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to move this piece 6, which would take the opponent off. And then look at this. I have a 1 to go. I'm going to actually move this piece 1 to cover that piece so that it's safe. So my opponent's rolled and he was able to move. And now it's my turn. I rolled a 6 and a 3. So in this particular case, since I want to continue moving forward, I could move 6. It will take that opponent off. And I might as well continue to move him 3. My opponent could, of course, take me back off, but maybe not. So he gets on the board with a 5, and he moves 4. And now it's my turn to move 5 or 3. So let's talk about some options. I could move this one 5 and take him off. I could move this one 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, take the opponent off again, which I'll do, and now I have a 3. I'm going to continue to move him 3, and it will put me in a safe spot. And as you see, I'm also slowly getting my men in this home quadrant. So let's let the opponent roll. He gets on with the 5 and moves a 3. Now it's my turn. I have a 5 and a 4. I'm going to start to move my men down and move this one 5. And I'm going to also move another one 4. I realize 2. I have double 1s, meaning I can move 4 1s. So I think I'll move 1 down, 2 down, and since I have this piece here, I'm going to have to cover him, 3, and then I have 1 more. Now notice I can't move these at all, because if all of these men here on this board would have to move 1, and I can't move them 1. So I'm just going to move that 1 more additional 1. My opponent rolls a 2 and a 1, and moves 1 man, 2 and 1. It's my turn again. I have a 5 and a 2. Yes, I can move this one 5, but I don't think it really helps me. At this point in the game, I want to try to limit the number of exposed men that I have. So I think what I'll do is move this one 5, and then I'll move this one 2. Hopefully, none of these people can get all the way over here, but they may. So double 2s, he gets to roll 4 2s, and now it's my turn again, and I get to move 4 3s. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to move one of these 3, and I'm going to move that 3 again, and that will put him there. And now I have 2 more 3s to take. So I can't move these because if you go 1, 2, and 3, there's the black, but I can move this one 3, 1, 2, 3, and I can move another one of them 1, 2, 3. So I'm starting to get my men in the board. I have a 6 and a 5, so I'm going to go ahead and move that 6 and move that 5 and try to get all my men into my home quadrant so that I can begin taking them off. My opponent had a 4 and a 2 and took it off. So I have a 3 and a 1. I'll move 1, 3, and I'll move 1, 1. And my opponent has double 1, so he can take off not just 2 1s, but 4 1s. I rolled a 5 and a 2, so I can take that 5 and I'll take that 2. My opponent rolls doubles again and is able to take off 5s, and since there's no more 5s and no more 6s to move over, he can take off a lower number. I now have a 5 and a 2. I can move the 5 and I can move the 2, which is great because I can now begin to take pieces off the board, but my opponent only has 2 left. Most likely, he's going to take them all off now. So he had a 3 and a 1. He moved 1, 3, and he didn't have a 1, so he had to move a piece 1. Now it's my turn. I have a 3 and a 2. I'm obviously not going to win the game, but I can take the 3 off, and I can take the 2 off, and my opponent will win this game, obviously. Now, I did not play with any type of strategy whatsoever, and watching this, I'm hoping that you understood at least the basic mechanics of how to move around the board. I get that this was a longer video, but if you stick around to the next one, we're going to start to get into some real strategies. Thank you for watching, and I hope you'll continue watching this series. And if you have any questions, please go ahead and let me know. I do answer questions in the comments. And look, go ahead, hit the subscribe button, hit the like, and I'm trying to make something for you guys. So I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much. Bye.